Welcome to the Darkstream. VoxDay, VoxDay.blogspot.com, and Infogalactic. Hope you're having a good weekend. I've been having a great time all day. Just kicking out the memes, practicing the dark meme magic. It's like the old days of Gamergate. The ride that never ends. It was kind of funny. You read what the mainstream media is doing. You read what the people from CNN are doing. And it's exactly what the game journals were doing back a year and a half, 2 years ago, whatever it was. August 2015, September 2015, around that time frame. And what we're seeing now is Gamergate taken to the next level. Exactly. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Sure, no problem. And so what's interesting is that the way the media has not yet understood that we learned from Gamergate. We learned from Poll and from the Chans. I'm not a Channer myself. I'm not with Anonymous. I certainly have friends and acquaintances who are, but I'm too old for that. I'm not autistic enough. So, but we can learn from what they do, and we have. The big mistake that the journos made was the fatal error that the game journos made was that they didn't understand that picking a fight with the kind of people who are willing to grind for 200 hours on a single game is a bad idea. It's a really bad idea. Oh yeah, I'm aware. Autism Storm and CNN Meme Wars. And the thing that we've learned, and this is important for you normies to keep in mind. I may not be Poll, I may not be a Channer, but I'm not a normie. I'm an original Gamergater from before it was called Gamergate. We used to call it the Quinspiracy. But what the normies need to learn is that the trick to making these things successful is to pile on. Pile on. You see a meme that you think is useful in any way, retweet it. And don't just retweet it. Tweet it at someone. Tweet it at the CNN reporters. This is rhetoric. This is pure rhetoric. It doesn't have to make sense. It just needs to trigger an emotional reaction. And we learned from Gamergate that what the journals will do is the way they deal with their emotional pain is that they read. They react and they lash out the only way they know how, which is to try to posture as the victim. So, I don't know, some of you may not be familiar with Gamergate. It got ridiculous. They made us the bad guys on an episode of Special Victims Unit. And so the way that they try to react, you can see this with the people we called literally who, literally who to, and literally woo, which is to say Zoe Quinn, Anita Sarkeesian, and Brianna Wu. They pose as the victims. We had the guys were figuring out stuff like, oh, we were forced from our homes while they're filming videos in their usual basement or whatever. It was just ridiculous. CNN is not going to be smart enough to stop fighting back. The same way that the game journalists did. What did the game journalists do? Does anyone remember? What was the reaction when we hit them back? Does anyone remember? Well, yeah, they doubled down, obviously. What their reaction was they coordinated. They put to, exactly, gamers are dead. They put together this coordinated hit by, I believe it was 21 different journalists who were coordinating their activities on a secret list called Game Journal List. And they released these Gamers Are Dead articles all within a span of about 24 hours. Now, it was kind of crazy. At the time, I didn't understand why they did it. We know that they did it, but what was the point? What were they trying to accomplish? And here's the thing. You can't understand them unless you apply rule number 3 of SJW, which is SJWs always project. What they were trying to do is they were trying to inflict emotional pain upon we gamers. It didn't work at all. But with SJWs, one of the most important things you can learn is that they reveal their weaknesses through the way they attack. And how do they attack? They attack by doxing. They attack by exposing. So on the basis of projection, what do we know? What is it that they fear? They fear being exposed. Because remember, most journalists don't make very much money. What their compensation is they get to feel that they're important. They get to act like they're important. They get to be regarded as they're important. People recognize them. People know their names. SJW stands for Social Justice Warrior. When I was a game columnist for the local newspaper in St. Paul, I used to get recognized when I would go out to clubs and bars. That's a very. I was getting paid $25 a column, one column a week, $25. Now, what do you think was worth more to me? The $25 a week, or the fact that I could go walk into anywhere from a nightclub to the local NBC affiliate and be recognized? Okay, so it's the fame, it's the recognition, it's the status. Now, what takes that away from them? Being mocked, being ripped apart publicly, being embarrassed. And that's why the meme magic is so devastating. Look at how upset they are. And we're only attacking CNN. Almost all the memes are focused on CNN. I didn't even put my dankest meme up on Twitter, probably because it probably would have gotten me kicked off of Twitter again. I put it on the blog instead. It's an image of Mussolini and his followers being hung upside down after being shot. We had MSNBC, CNN, National Review Online, and K-File all upside down. Very effective meme. No, I love that you guys do that. I love that you guys posted that. I just have to be a little bit more careful because obviously Twitter is already blocking links to my blog. They've already locked me up twice. So I'm aware of that, so I need to be a little more careful. So exactly, you don't give them an excuse. So what you said, memes are satire. Memes are not necessarily satire. What memes are is visual rhetoric. Rhetoric, if you've read SJW's Always Lie, you know is information. Actually, it's not information. It is persuasion meant to trigger an emotional reaction. It's emotional manipulation. And so what memes accomplish, and the reason that they're so effective, and the reason that the media is so threatened by them, is that there's no way for them to manipulate the argument, because there is no argument there. Trolling is rhetoric, yes. And so, for example, the art of the meme defangs the greatest weapons of the media, which is the ability to control the narrative. Everything that the media does is an attempt to impose their narrative on you. How do you impose a narrative on a picture of a frog? You see what they try to do. You see they try to say, well, that frog is actually a symbol of Nazism. And therefore, because there's a frog, that means it's Nazi, and then they can point and say Nazi. Does this convince anyone? Or does this make them think that the media is insane? It makes them think they're insane. That's why Pepe makes them lose their shit. Because they can't hit back at it. They can't come back at it. If you... the art of me, that's a good idea, actually. You have to be careful in some cases. Because, for example, like I said, you can get too dank. You can get to the point where, there are times when you can go over the top. But for the most part, it's not something to concern yourself with. For example, there's a really good meme out there. I retweeted it. It's got Donald Trump riding on a horse, holding an American flag, and there's Pepe Pope looking down on him from kind of like a blessing type thing. It's a good meme. It's a very good meme. So I added a dead body being dragged behind it. And that actually kicked it up a level. Why? In two ways. Number one, it brings that image, that triumphant image, into the CNN context. But there's also another additional level to it. They want to say, oh, this is just people being silly. This is just people throwing cartoons around, blah, blah, blah. And that's another way for them to try to dismiss it. But that's futile too, and especially in a case like this. Why? Because, I looked, this is going to sound a little strange. I looked at a lot of pictures of dead bodies being dragged. Why did I pick that particular one? I picked that particular one because it is a classic image of Hector being dragged around the gates by Achilles. So there's an additional subtext to the meme, which is basically stating that the God Emperor is the invincible Achilles. So, there's levels to this stuff. But, when you're just getting going, and I encourage all of you to do this. Anybody can do it. I think I did 5 today. Didn't take me very long. You just need an idea. You throw it together. You tweet it out there. Bam. You know, some of them are going to work, some of them are not going to work. That's okay. It doesn't matter. You reinforce success, you ignore failure. But the thing is, and this is again for the normies, for those of you who have not been involved in Gamergate and who probably shouldn't ever visit 8chan, what you should do is just whenever you see this stuff, tweet them out there. Find out who the CNN reporters are, what their Twitter accounts are. There's probably already a link up of all their addresses. You know, this is something that the alt-right and whatever you want to call it, and the CNN meme war has not yet done. That you should do, that we did in Gamergate, and that's put together lists and references. In Gamergate, we had lists of every single advertiser, which I think they've already got in this case. But we also had lists of every single email address of every game journalist. We also had all their Twitter addresses. We had Deep Freeze got set up so that we were able to archive all of everything they did. Everything they did was archived immediately so that we all had it for reference. And then there were some guys who set up different lists of all the most damning things they'd said, all the most damning stuff they'd done was all there for reference. I mean, seriously, you don't want to mess with gamers because they turn everything into a game. I mean, Gamergate was itself, a kind of game, and it was fun. I mean, I made friends in that I maintain to this day. You know, Mike and Milo and I got to know each other through Gamergate. You know, the other day, somebody was saying, wait, a porn star? What does a porn star have to do with Vox? And Mercedes was like, I adore Vox. I'm like, Mercedes is my designated award acceptor. You know, because we're both Gamergate. Common ground. Allies. And the same thing is likely going to come of this CNN meme war thing. Because I don't think it's going to end soon. You know, every indication is that they're going to double down and that they're going to do what I would be shocked if they didn't do what the game journos did, which is try to summon all their allies that they can get in the mainstream media and come back hard. I don't know what they're going to call us. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know how they're going to do it, but the chances are very good that they're going to. And we should welcome this. We should welcome this, and we should embrace it, and we should ram it down their fucking throats. Because we've beat them before with Gamergate, and we are much better at what we're doing now. We know what worked. We know what didn't work. And we know that they have learned absolutely nothing from it. You can see it because they know that there's a connection. They're not entirely stupid. They understand that there's a connection between Gamergate, what happened in the Trump campaign, and what's happening today. They get that there's some connection. But they can't bring themselves to actually look at the truth of what happened. If you read that article that some journalist wrote today referring to Gamergate and saying that Gamergate was the sort of, prototype for this, which is true. But everything else she said about Gamergate was a complete lie. So they cannot learn from it. Whatever they learn from their looking at it is going to be wrong because they're looking at the falsehood. They're looking at the false narrative of the game journal pros. And that is what gives us the advantage. Because we're just looking at what actually happens. We're just looking at the truth. We look at what works. We look at what doesn't work. We stick with what works. But here's the thing. What's going to happen if this goes on is that you're going to see some new people kind of rising to the top. People that are going to be attracting attention. Cernovich, I mean, they're already kind of doing it. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. That article was just so stupid because they were pointing to Mike Cernovich and Weave as leaders of Gamergate. Those guys, Weave was not involved in Gamergate at all, and Cernovich was not very, he kind of got a little bit involved at the end, just sponsoring the GG in Paris with Milo and I. But, there were you could probably name 100 other people that would have been more relevant names to mention. Why are they looking at Weave and Cernovich? Because Cernovich is huge, and he was at least somewhat involved in Gamergate. And Weave because they want to call us Nazis. Same playbook, same thing, nothing new, not going to work. However, one of the problems that we are going to have is that you're going to see some people who see this as an opportunity to dance for the media, to declare themselves leaders, to try to speak for the movement. The media is going to embrace that and endorse that because they are going to because what they try to do is they try to lift up a leader and cut him down, and with him the movement. Now, Gamergate was very smart about this. Gamergate made it very, very clear that there were no leaders. I got accused a few times of being the leader of Gamergate, which was ridiculous. I wasn't. Adam Baldwin got accused of it. A number of other people got accused of it. Every single one of them said Gamergate has no leaders. The other phrase that was often heard is, "I'm the leader of Gamergate, and so can you." And we kind of switched tactics when they kept anointing these false leaders. People started giving themselves titles. So, you had the Grand Duke of Gamergate, and I don't remember all the titles, but there were a lot of them. And so, and what that meant was that they never had the ability to do. They never had the ability to do what they've done to the alt-right and Richard Spencer. And the thing is, I've told both Greg Johnson and Richard Spencer this: do not ever accept anyone calling you the leader of anything. All that is a target painted on your chest for the media to drop its artillery on in attempt to discredit and disqualify the movement. Not only that, every single little thing that you do wrong will then be used as a way of discrediting and disqualifying and destroying the movement that you profess to want to support. And so the very worst thing that you can do is to put yourself forward as a leader. If you care about the movement, then resist every attempt to crown you as a leader. At this point, if you're still doing that, it's an indication that you're not leadership material, because you're kind of stupid. And so, no, I'm aware they haven't been listening, and it's fine. I don't care, because I know what's going to happen. By dancing for the media and by doing that stuff, they are turning themselves into a new, like Cuckservative says, they're turning themselves into a new version of David Duke. You're basically becoming somebody who is totally irrelevant, somebody who nobody follows, somebody who nobody pays any attention to, but the media finds you useful for its purpose. Fine. Here's the thing. I'm fine with that. If they want to, turn themselves into target dummies, that's their call. They're fulfilling a useful role. If they want to draw all the media attention to them, while the real movers and shakers make things happen in the chans, while Poll and Anonymous do it. No, Cerno is very clear that he's not, he's not a he's not a leader of a movement. He's not an activist. He is building a alternative media organization. It's very different. So, same with me. You could say, well, you're building up an alt tech company and a publishing house. Yeah, I am, but those are concrete things that have nothing to do with any sort of leadership movement type of thing. You will. I don't talk to the media. Stefan does not talk to the media. Cerno does not talk to the media. I know you guys, think he does because he does. He strategically accepts one interview of the 50 that are offered to him. I know how many he turns down. No, Cerno's not all right. He's a bit civic nationalist. But this is going to be interesting. We'll see if this continues. It's going to be fun. One of the things that we, the Cernovich Periscope did help kick off CNN blackmail. Mike was there for Gamergate. He knows how it works. He knows how to play it. And this is going to be huge. CNN meme war is going to be huge for the alt-right, because the same way that it bonded a lot of very diverse people together in Gamergate, it's going to bond us together in this. We have a saying in Gamergate: the ride never ends. No, Mike did not. Adam Baldwin coined Gamergate. Mike wasn't even involved in Gamergate early on. And so, there are going to be, and the thing is, just like with Gamergate, there's going to be internal dissension. The left wing and the right wing are not going to be entirely comfortable with each other. But the thing is, we've all been through this. The guys at Kotaku in Action, most of whom were leftist, did not like me at all. A lot of them were very dubious about me, and that was okay. They were very dubious about Milo too. But we got past it because they realized that basically, the one saying that we had there was shut up and email. Fine, you've got your differences, shut up and email. Every day you email the sponsors. We had the scripts all set out and everything, and that same sort of thing is likely to get going here. We'll see. We'll see. We don't know. In the case of Gamergate, we had Gawker and all the sites that it owned constantly hammering on us, constantly trying to intimidate us and demoralize us and get us to quit. That's how the media wins. They get you to quit. But it didn't work with Gamergate because you're not going to get gamers to quit. But the thing is that there were so many great memes. Here's the other thing about memes, and here's what we haven't started seeing yet, is it's just as important to remoralize your own side as it is to demoralize the other side. And so we had all kinds of great memes that encouraged us. You would see stuff and it would fire you up. There's all kinds of memes about how if you're a gamer, enemies means that you're going the right way. When you're playing a game, if you're wandering around and you're not running into enemies, that's not the right way. You're looking for people to shoot at you. So there were memes based on that. One of my favorite memes is the classic one. It's from that old game. I can't remember the name of it, but it was all your base are belong to us. and we changed that to all your memes are belong to us, and all your hashtag belong to us, and we took zeroing. That's it. Thank you. And we took over their hashtags. I mean, that was probably the most effective thing in terms of morale that we did. Was every time anti-Gamergate or Gamergazi or whoever, the SJWs, every time they tried to get a hashtag going against us, we took it over. And that's something that I think we've already seen that a little bit once. There's not really much. The thing is, CNN doesn't have much popular support, but we can do that too. You know, the minute, and that's something actually. Remember that the minute that you see a anti-meme war, the minute you see a negative meme, or not, sorry, a negative hashtag, take it over. You know, find a meme that is for our side and retweet it with that hashtag. And it was hilarious because they would do these campaigns and they would try to get these new hashtags going, and we would take them over within a day. And so, you know, and fake news, fake news is a perfect example. Fake news was supposed to be a weapon against the right, a little mimetic jujitsu, and now fake news, we own it. Why is the other side so bad at memes? Great question. And a very simple answer. The best rhetoric goes back to Aristotle. Now, it's not incompetence. It's about dishonesty. The best and most effective rhetoric is based in truth. Aristotle taught us this 2,500 years ago. Whatever is grounded in truth is the most effective. So if you have two competing memes, the one that is more based in truth, doesn't have to be literally true, it doesn't have to be actually true, but it has to have a basis in truth. Right? So, I mean, Aristotle is one of the smartest men in human history. Rhetoric is a little bit of a difficult read. I'd recommend reading my book, SJW Always Lie, first. There's a whole chapter devoted to rhetoric and dialectic. Once you've read that, it's much easier to understand what Aristotle's saying. But you can just dive right in the deep end too. No, I fall very short of Aristotle. But yeah, and that's why leftist comics are not funny, because what they're saying isn't true. You know, I mean, here's the thing about the left's propaganda: they always lie, and they always push falsehood. You know, we've been binge watching Flash recently, the television show, and they are pushing black-white, white-black couples like crazy. I mean, it's so much so that there's barely any normal couples that are of the same race, right? But it's always a lie. It's always a lie. They always have two people that are about the same level of attractiveness. That's not how it works. How does it work when a black man is with a white woman? Who is more attractive in terms of their own race? It's almost always going to be the black man. Why? Because people trade up. People always trade up. And so, or trade down, depends. And so, but you don't see that. They don't portray, you know, if you have yes, all the books behind me are real. I'm a publisher. So, I mean, that whole row is all just books that we publish. Anyhow, blacks and Asians. Okay, what do you know if you have a couple with a white man and an Asian woman? What do you know about the man? It's probably going to be he's going to be intelligent, low socio-sexual ranking guy. So, but that's not the way they portray it, because that's not a narrative they want to push. So they are always trapped in their lies. So that's why they can't meme effectively. That's why their rhetoric tends to be lame and ineffective. So, anyhow, so that's all I've got for tonight. But you know what to do. When you see the memes, pass the memes on. Send them out to targets. Start looking around for the information that's going to start getting compiled, and focus on making it sting, making it hurt. The aim of the memes is to trigger an emotional reaction. The aim of the meme is to convey one specific idea that is based in truth. And so, that's why it's so effective. For example, well, actually, I'll go just a little bit longer, just to explain this one thing. The media is trying to stamp a narrative in place. What the meme does is it violates that narrative, and it prevents them from imposing it as the norm. So that's why they're so concerned about memes. That's why they're so upset about them, because all their traditional weapons don't work against them. And that's why we're encouraging you to get better at it, and to use them and to embrace them and force multiply the power of the people who are using them. And so, the more that they try to push their narrative, the more that we can undermine it using meme magic. So, have a good rest of the weekend. Thanks for tuning in, and we will look forward to seeing you soon.